Welcome back. Let's bring in our panel right now. Big group with us today to talk about a lot of big issues in the news. Joining us here in studio, Democratic strategist Laura Beck, 2016 Vice Chair for the Indiana Trump campaign, Tony Samuel, along with two former state reps, Democrat Terry Austin, Republican Mike Murphy, and UND political science professor Dr. Laura Wilson. Great to have you all with us today. So Laura, let's start with this Supreme Court decision in Colorado, because it's obviously going to be a really big story here in the race for president. The other candidates weighing in, we saw the statement from Mike Braun earlier, and this obviously has the potential to be a pretty consequential decision.
Oh, I think it does. You know, in terms of the overall function and impact, it should be pretty negligible. You're talking about a March 5th primary. There's only 37 delegates. You need 1235 to win. It doesn't mean Donald Trump is out of it by any stretch of the imagination. He called the decision flawed. It's going to be appealed, and you're talking about a really conservative U.S. Supreme Court. But I do think it matters in terms of the impact that you had the 4-3 decision from the Colorado State Supreme Court saying that this is a violation of the U.S. Constitution. And this was something that hadn't really been looked at since the Civil War when that amendment was passed. So I think in theory and principle, it really does matter, even though it doesn't have a practical approach.
Mike, you're among those in your party who thinks the Republicans should move on from Trump, but some in the race, like Nikki Haley, say that should happen by way of him being defeated at the polls and not this way. I'm curious, do you agree with that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not a big Trump fan, obviously, but I don't think that's necessarily the way to get rid of him. You get rid of him by pounding him into the ground with better ideas and highlighting his, his idiocy, frankly. But you don't do it through the courts. But, that's the way the system's set up. Each state has a Supreme Court. They each have a right to make a decision, and when they conflict, it goes to the U.S. Supreme Court. So I'm not worried about it at all.
Terry, at the same time, this insurrection clause is written in the Constitution. That's what the Colorado Supreme Court is referencing here. If their ruling is upheld, could we see this happen in other states?
Well, that depends on, I think, the makeup of their individual Supreme Courts. Some of them are elected, some of them are appointed, and I think it's going to be hard to predict whether it's going to, and it's going to depend on those states and the makeup of their, how their primaries are held and when their primaries are held.
If the Supreme Court even upholds this ruling. Which some wonder if
and whether, whether the appeals happen or not. So
lots still to happen there.
Yes.
Tony, you've been a part of the Trump campaign in the past. I know this is something you feel pretty strongly about. Amongst others in your party, we mentioned Mike Braun, Todd Rokita also putting out a statement this week about all of this as well.
Yeah, first of all, the Democrat strategy clearly is if you can't beat Trump at the ballot box, you're going to try to take him out through the courts, a weaponization of the courts. We're seeing it, time and time again with Trump. We're seeing it here in Indiana with Rokita. This U.S. Supreme Court will overturn this. It's just a question on how quickly. This has been going on, not just in Colorado, but in, I think, 16 states. They've lost every case. Some might be appealed. Now that the four liberal justices in Colorado versus the 3 Republicans that voted against this, but it did happen in Colorado. But some of these other cases in other states might go that way as well. But I think the U.S. Supreme Court will act swiftly. Should be a 9-0 vote. It might not be. We'll see. But when that gets overturned, I think that will sweep across the country, and then we'll see an end to this.
Laura, I want to get your response to all of this as well. And also, we mentioned Todd Rokita, the news this past week on Rokita. A poll went out asking Republicans if they thought he should be off the ballot if his license is suspended by our state's Supreme Court Disciplinary Commission. Trump and Rokita could potentially be facing some of the same consequences here.
It's like the gift that keeps on giving, Donald Trump and Todd Rokita. When you look at the Colorado issue, what I think I'll be watching probably the closest is the dynamics with the Supreme Court. I mean, it's no secret that the public has lost faith in that institution. A majority of Americans, 54%, do not hold their faith in that institution. There also is a really interesting article, maybe about 2 weeks ago, in the New York Times about the mechanics and the background of what was happening within the court leading into the Dobbs decision. And so I think that's going to be really interesting for people to be watching. As far as Todd Rokita goes, I mean, he's always skirted the line of what's appropriate for an elected official and what's not. And it will really depend if the Supreme Court is going to hold him for accountability or not.
And Laura, all of these issues at the state and federal level will no doubt be hugely consequential heading into the election year here in Indiana next year.
Oh, they absolutely will. And imagine if it's not an issue for you as a candidate, it's going to be something you make as an issue for your opposition in terms of a candidate. I think these are going to be really big topics.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, let's talk about this issue that came to the surface here in the State Budget Committee this past week, this $1 billion shortfall in the state's Medicaid budget. Mike, you served in the legislature, as did you, Terry. This is obviously something, Mike, that lawmakers on both sides are really pretty concerned about this week.
Oh, and they should be. I mean, it's a major screw up by somebody. The question is who did it, who was the cause of it, and then the question is who takes the fall for it, because there's always a fall guy or a fall girl in any of these major screw ups. Who is it? I would get, I would get Chris Johnson, the OMB involved. I'd get the State Board of Accounts involved. I get the FSSA secretary involved, and I agree with the interview you did with Ed Delaney. There should be a public accounting, a public hearing to lay all this out.
Terry, how do you see all this, especially with other lawmakers not only concerned about this botched Medicaid forecast, but also more and more scrutiny on the money, the millions of dollars going to the IEDC, some of the ongoing questions about the LEAP district, which has essentially been put on pause now, that project, until we get the results of this ongoing water study. It seems as if both of those items are sort of being questioned and scrutinized here at the same time.
Well, I think there are two issues here. One is the General Assembly and state government needs a total overhaul of its transparency operations. There are too many deals and self-dealing deals going on where the public is totally left out. And that's a recipe for mischief, quite honestly. And I would say more than Mike's suggestion that who's going to take the fall, it's who's going to pay the price of the $1 million shortfall? Is it the most vulnerable Hoosiers who can least afford it? Because they are the ones, if they're talking about cutting benefits, that should be totally off the table. And that's the kind of thing that, quite honestly, should absolutely, people say, we are not going to do that. They need to come out and be very clear about it.
Tony, at one point it looked like this could be a quiet session here in the coming year, but already now it looks like lawmakers have a number of pretty serious issues on their plate.
Yeah, this happens every short session when they say that we're going to get out early and not deal with much. Something comes up, and that's the case. On the Medicaid budget estimate, one of the issues is the trillions of dollars that the federal government is putting out there that's caused inflation. Billions have come to the state. There's not enough independent third-party auditing of these funds across the board, not just Medicaid, but across the board of all state agencies. So that needs to happen. On the LEAP project, you need a statewide comprehensive water plan. It hasn't happened. Suzanne Crouch is starting to talk about it, there needs to be looking at quality, quantity, and distribution of water. Whoever can master that will have a leg up on the others in the gubernatorial race.
A number of the candidates have been kind of pushing back against this LEAP district. Laura, how do you see all of this from across the aisle, and what does it all mean here for the year ahead?
Well, I think there's going to be a lot of repercussions, just as Tony and everyone else has said, especially with the Medicaid funding, because we are talking about the most vulnerable Hoosiers, many of whom are baby boomers who need long-term care. So we've got to have an understanding of who's asking for this money back and why are you reverting it.
Yeah.
As it relates to the LEAP district, I think that's going to be the sleeper issue of this gubernatorial primary.
Could certainly be a big issue. It already has been in some respects. All right, coming up next, with millions traveling for the holiday, we're hearing from Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg on his department's efforts to hold airlines accountable when there's travel trouble in the skies.